Yes! Oh, man, it's Friday night, and I'm here talking football and doing my favorite thing in the whole world. I'm just going to double check to make sure everything is working fine. I should be streaming to you live on Facebook. It looks like I am. Of course, I'm live here on the YouTube. Hopefully, there is no problems with YouTube today. It looks like I am good to go. And then I'm also streaming live on Twitter. I normally don't do New Year's resolutions. By the way, Happy New Year's. I'm stealing a line from Luke G. I want to hear from you. I don't want to hear about you. So hopefully you're having a fun, but have a very safe New Year's. I am going to watch a buttload of college football. I have not watched any college football today. I have a ton on the DVR, the 2 championship games, of course. I don't have any information on the college football championship games that are going to be played tomorrow. And that's kind of a slip up on my part, so I apologize. But if you do want to talk college football, drop a comment in there. I'm going to keep this video kind of short. I'm going to zip through every single game. Hopefully, y'all in this. You know what? In the description below, there probably isn't a link to my video with the picks. You can go to my YouTube channel and check that out. Boy, I'm starting off on a bad note. Check out all my picks, but I don't have a link in the description. But you can go to my channel and check out who I picked. Just FYI, I predicted 27-17 for Thursday Night Football's 27-13. I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Funk, what's up, brother? Hey, happy New Year early. He says, "What's good, buddy? He's getting dinner." Hey, man, enjoy. Big game Sunday at noon. Big game Sunday at noon. Playoff implications there in the NFC North. Very, very interesting time for Lions fans. Very interesting time for Lions fans. Really, really excited about that game. Of course, I will be announcing. I'm going to do play-by-play for the Chiefs-Broncos game. I did it last week. It was a lot of fun. I wasn't perfect, but I think I did a pretty good job, and I got a lot of people engaged. Funk actually came in for a little bit and gave me some encouragement and a thumbs up, and I really, really, really appreciated that because I wasn't sure how many people had watched. Turns out to be a lot of people did. So if you're watching the Chiefs-Broncos game, have the game on, turn off the sound, turn on YouTube and watch me do play-by-play. And I also think that I did a pretty good job engaging with everybody during commercial breaks. I will have DraftKings up, which I have up right now. And I'm going to go through all the lines and I'll give you updates on the score. I want Slasher. He had a parlay on Kelsey over 75.5 yards. So I was giving him updates on the yards. So Lions should bounce back this week. If not, it'll be a long off season. Yeah, they should. And, honestly, the Bears would like to nothing more than to knock the Lions out, but it would really help them if they have the number 2 pick in the draft because they got multiple holes. And I think if I'm the Bears, and we're going to do a ton of draft stuff here, it's probably in their best interest to trade down. If I'm the Chicago Bears, I'm trying to get the highest pick I can, and I'm auctioning off to the highest bidder. And they could get the number 1 pick in the draft. They could get the number 1 pick in the draft. If Detroit wins and Houston wins, Chicago would have the first overall pick in the draft, and it'd be the first time since, I want to quote you, 1937, and I could be way wrong about that. Could be way wrong. As far as the Lions are concerned, because they're not mathematically eliminated if they lose, but they have to have like 20 things go right. And to be honest with you, Detroit could win their next 2 games and still not to make the playoffs. So Funk says the truest thing in the world here. Yeah, if I'm the Bears regime, I'm not trying to win another game. No, you have a lot of holes to fill, but quarterback's not one of them. And there's a lot of really good quarterbacks in this draft. I sent something to Luke G. I saw a mock draft where Lions picked 4th, and it was Levis or Levis, Will Levis, the quarterback out of Kentucky. And he said, well, I would be really disappointed because that's our biggest hole. And I have a feeling, I asked him, I said, I haven't heard back. I was like, who do you think has what is the biggest hole? I'm pretty sure he's going to say defensive line. And I think you would like Jalen Carter. And I'm kind of on board with Jalen Carter. If I'm the Detroit Lions, like that's the guy I'm kind of circling and saying, if he's available when we pick, that's who we should get. Lions are going to be a fun team this year in the draft. Fun team. So I almost nailed Thursday Night Football perfectly. I called Dallas winning 27-17. They won 27-13. Just going to recap. I'm not going to recap the whole game. One thing I do want to point out is I was very impressed with Joshua Dobbs. And if I'm Tennessee, I keep that guy around as the backup to Tannehill. And it wouldn't surprise me if they want to move on. A lot of people are questioning, why not put Malik Willis in there? Shouldn't he give you a better chance than a guy that just came in off the street? Well, the offensive coordinator was in Pittsburgh when Dobbs was drafted. I was really high on Joshua Dobbs coming out of Tennessee. I love this kid. And I really thought that he was going to be the replacement to Roethlisberger. And a couple of years later, they drafted Mason Rudolph in the 3rd round. That's when I was like, okay, maybe they're not high on him. And there's so many external factors that go on in the NFL. But one of the things is that this guy did everything right in Pittsburgh. He just didn't make the cut. You had Roethlisberger stay there probably a year or two too late. And it didn't work out. He was actually on the Lions practice squad for a little bit. And then he ends up going to Tennessee. And I thought he played really well. Considering he's there for 9 days, he played really well. And I'm really, really pulling. It really doesn't matter. Jacksonville can't clinch the division with a win. They cannot clinch a division with a win. So it's going to come down to week 17 between the Titans and Jaguars. So kudos to the NFL scheduling department. Luke would probably say linebackers is a hunch. So, I mean, I'm going to tell you something. I think that the Lions, their second player would be Tyree Wilson. I'm going to call him an edge, and I know you hate that because I think he's a pure defensive end, but he could play 3-4 linebacker in kind of a multifaceted defense because he's really kind of a fringe player. He's not really an outside linebacker. He's not really a defensive end. He could be a defensive end. He'd have to put on what I call the NFL 20. I have a feeling he's going to go higher than Will Anderson in the draft, and I know that. That's hearsay to a lot of people. I really like this kid, and he can do a lot of things. I think he's going to blow up at the combine. I'm going to keep YouTube TV, so I'm going to watch the Senior Bowl, the East-West Shrine game. I'm going to watch every possible second I can of the combine, but I think Tyree Wilson's going to blow up. So if it's not Jalen Carter, it wouldn't surprise me. Tyree Wilson, very similar player, the Hutchinson, and I think you just wreak havoc, but I'm curious what Luke G says is the number one issue with the Detroit Lions. He definitely doesn't think it's quarterback. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to give you my picks for all the games here. First game, Denver travels to Kansas City. Chiefs are a 13-point favorite. The over-under is 45. If you're curious, the weather is going to be fantastic. It was 60 yesterday. Today it was in mid-40s. I think Sunday, it's going to be like in the mid 40s. It's one of those weird Midwest things. And I'm going to let you know right now, when a team fires their head coach, they usually play better. So it wouldn't surprise me if Denver covers 13. I'm actually going to put a small bet on Denver covering. I also like the over on this game. But Kansas City should win this one. I did say Tyree Wilson is a needy kid that has just surgery on his foot. I didn't know he just had surgery on his foot. If it's minor surgery, it's not going to matter. Come on, Denver. It would help the Rams if the picks. It would help. Excuse me. It would help the Rams pick if the Rams lose. So, yeah. So I get what you're saying here, and you misspelled Chiefs. I know you're pulling for the Chiefs this weekend, but yeah, if the Rams lose, that is going to help. I mean, it's going to help you guys. I'm kind of curious when everything's said and done, and we'll know next week when the Lions are going to get their first pick. Or I'm sorry, it'd be 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I'm getting caught up here. Next game is another game that I kind of predicting an upset here. I had a few upsets this week. By the way, last week, if you're not aware, I went 14-2 on my picks. 14-2. So I mean that's pretty good. Saints at Philly. Philly's 5.5-point favorite. Over under is 41.5. I like the Saints to win this game. I think Gardner Minshew, he played well. I think he's going to play well again. I think he could probably be a bottom 10 starter in the NFL, but I mean, I like Minshew a lot. I really do. I think Saints get it done. I really do. I know it's in Philly. I know they're a tough team, but I like the Saints here. Keep in mind, I'm going to follow this really heavy over the next 36 hours or however long it is. I believe it's 36 hours. Hurts may play. I think more than likely he sits out this week and then they host the Giants next week. I think that he plays against the Giants next week. If they don't win, and I don't think they will. I think Hurts sits out this week, and then Saints really kind of make things interesting. Jeff A, what's up, brother? Chiefs. Yes, I mean it's a good time to be a Chiefs fan. Good time to be a Chiefs fan. Next game is one of my upsets. I got several upsets this week. Jacksonville at Houston. Houston's a 3-point home dog. Over under is 43. I like Houston to win this one. I like the way they've been playing lately. They are determined to give up the number 1 pick. They really, really don't want to have it. They really, really don't want to have it. So, buddy, the Broncos Seahawks pick is currently ahead of the Rams. The Broncos win, not likely, and the Rams lose. They flip drive, giving them okay. And yeah, I mean, anything you can do to get a better draft pick, that's awesome because there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks. Like I said, I sent Luke G something where Levi's was going forth. I've seen several mock drafts of CJ Stroud going forth to the Lions. And bottom line, those 3 quarterbacks are probably going top 10. And I didn't even talk about Anthony Richardson. And then there's 2 or 3 other quarterbacks that we could also mention as possible late first rounders that we haven't even talked about yet. So you want to get as high of a draft pick as possible. If you're creative like the Lions are, it wouldn't surprise me if the Lions aren't 100% sold on somebody. I didn't know about Tyree Wilson's surgery. I didn't watch any college football. I've been kind of behind after watching Thursday Night Football. That's pretty much all I did. I watched Thursday Night Football, and I'm behind on a lot of stuff, but I'll get caught up draft time. If the surgery is not a big deal, then I do think he'll go before Anderson. Just a hunch. I think people are going to just fall in love with him. Don't be surprised if the Lions want to trade back. And you know, they may be able to get a player. I mean, they may be able to get a player. There may be somebody who wants a quarterback really bad. Carolina's a team that's got draft capital and players, young talented players. They may be able to work something out with. So Jeff A says he's got the Bengals and Bills in a tie. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. That would be so awesome. I would love that. This would be, kind of a dream for me. Next up, Chicago at Detroit. Detroit's 6-point favorite. Over under 52.5. I do like Detroit. To be honest, if I had to bet on this game, which I wouldn't, I like Detroit to cover 6. I really like the Lions here. They laid a duck last week. I don't think they lay a duck at home. And I really think they get it done. I'll be honest, I expect a double-digit win here. If you're a Lions fan, hopefully you're yawning. We agree. Yeah, we agree. I like Wilson more. Anderson has, I'll be honest, Anderson's a pure 3-4 outside linebacker. He might be able to play in a 4-3. That's not his strength. So a guy like Wilson, he could play in a 3-4. He could play in a 4-3. I think he could be a pure defensive end. I think he could be an outside linebacker for a team like the Lions. I think he can do so much more. And I think that when he goes to the combine, he's going to, I really do. I think he's going to put on a show. I think people are going to be surprised that he's just an out of this world athlete. I think at like 260, 270, he's going to run under 4.5. I think he's going to jump through the building. I think teams are really going to like that he can do a lot of different things. I think he's really going to impress. And don't get me wrong, I still like Anderson. If you have a 3-4 team like Detroit does, I firmly expect Carolina to take a quarterback, but Carolina's going to be picking early. He's not a guy that I would think. Okay, let's say you're like the Jets or San Francisco, and you run that wide 9. I don't think you could put Anderson in that type of defense. Trying to think of what other team. Arizona might be a team to consider. That might be a good fit for. Anderson would be Arizona, who's going to pick pretty early in this draft, I believe. So, next game, I got the Colts at the Giants. Giants are a 5.5 point favorite. The over/under is 39. I don't know what to really think about the Colts at this point. I could see the Colts making this interesting. I could also see the Colts getting blown out. They're going to go Foles again. I have a hard time really believing that the Colts can get up. While the Giants, if they win, they're in the playoffs. They're at home. I like the way they've been playing. I would not recommend betting on this one, but same thing with the Lions, though. I think that they would cover 5.5, but I'd be very cautious. It seriously would not surprise me if the Colts make this interesting. Wouldn't surprise me if the Giants win by 5 or 6 touchdowns. So Anderson is pure rush outside linebacker. I'd rather have either Gonzalez or Porter Jr. at the first pick and Trenton Simpson the second first-round pick. That could be just me. I'll tell you what, Gonzalez or Porter, both those guys would be really interesting. I'm not really sure who would be a better fit. I'm thinking Porter. This is my, I'm gonna do a lot of draft stuff, so I don't really know this for a fact. Initial gut reaction: Joey Porter's more of a press bump type of guy. Might have a career as a safety. Gonzalez is one of those cover guys, and I don't know what either one's going to measure out at. Gonzalez, I think is going to be like that 5'11", 5'10", 6 foot range. That's going to be important, but I think he's going to weigh it like 190 or under, where Joey Porter Jr. is going to be about 6'2", 6'1.5", 195. And there's going to be a lot of teams that love that length. If you're a college football wide receiver and you're 6 foot or taller, consider switching over to the defensive side of the ball, and your draft stock will just shoot right up through the roof. I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are really going to fall in love with the fact that, Joey Porter Jr., of course, his dad, Joey Porter, one of my favorite players, former, comes from an NFL background, longer. I think more physical is another thing that teams are going to like. It wouldn't surprise me, though, and this is going to sound like I'm slamming Porter Jr. I'm not. It wouldn't surprise me if this is a guy who in 5 or 6 years he switches to safety. It wouldn't really surprise me. He puts on, I call it the NFL 20, but he puts on 10 pounds, and he plays that safety nickel corner type of role. It wouldn't surprise me. I think that there's a niche out there for players that are safeties that have to be nickel corners, and those guys are really valuable, and that could be something that Joey Porter Jr. could do. I'm purely speculating. But I get what you're saying, go on the back end. I mean, I get that. You got one guy on the outside, you got some other guys on the outside who are just okay. I get that because you got your elite pass rusher. Don't worry about the outside. I get that. I have to admit, it would be kind of fun to see the Lions draft an elite pass rusher opposite Hutchinson. It would be a lot of fun. It would be a lot of fun. I'd love to see that. Trenton Simpson with the second first-round pick. That's it. If I'm He's the inside linebacker from Clemson, if I remember right. Help me out here if I got that wrong, because I haven't boned up on draft stuff too much. I've been doing a lot of work lately. I'm doing a video right after the regular season's over. I already got the list. I already got everything. I just have to put the video together. Top 10 teams that have never won a Super Bowl. Then I'm going to do top 10 Super Bowl teams of all time. But I've been tinkering around with the top 10 teams that have never made the Super Bowl. And I was kind of tinkering around with that instead of doing some draft stuff. I have all the teams. I just switched 2 teams on my list. I already have the teams. I already have the list. It's just making the video. It's probably going to be a long video, but I'm going to try to keep it as short as I can. But I mean, I'm talking about 10 teams. You know, it's probably going to be long. But I'll put chapters in there and everything. So if you're a football history buff, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Gonzalez will be the same size as Porter. Really? I didn't know that. Okay. Plus, he's supposed to be going to be a low. Yeah. I know Gonzalez is supposed to be faster. I did not think he was 6'2", 195. I actually thought he was like 5'11", 185, 190. I didn't know that. So Trenton's to do it all. Outside linebacker. Kid can cover legit. That's what I've been hearing. I want to see him run. And I apologize because I had to refresh. So when DraftKings doesn't, you have to refresh. So when I refresh, they just messed up a bunch of the order. So I'm going to go out of order here. I think I remember which teams already did. Next up is an interesting one. Carolina at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's a 4-point home favorite. Over under is 40. I really want to pick Carolina. This is a game that if I could, if there was any other game that I could watch, you know, there's several good ones. This would be the key one, because if Carolina wins the next 2 games, they win. They win. Tampa Bay wins, they're in. And they also knocked Carolina out. Carolina, remember, they beat them earlier in the year, so Carolina would get the sweep. I do think Tampa gets it done. I think this is going to be an ugly game. If you're a fan of defense like I am, I think it would be a lot of fun. I'm pulling for Carolina just for fun, but I really think Tampa Bay is going to win. I would not take under 40 in the NFL as a bet, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. Okay. I didn't know he was that big. If he's the same size as Porter, I do know. I haven't watched a lot of Gonzalez, but I've seen enough of Porter that I know he can run. But I know Porter's not a 4-3 guy. I heard Gonzalez might be, and if that's the case, Gonzalez could go really, really early. I've been seeing on most mock drafts, and keep in mind, I've been kind of negligent on going through draft stuff. I've been seeing late first round, the mid first round, same thing with Joey Porter. I think those are really going to go up as we get closer to the draft. But if Gonzalez is 6'1", 200, and he runs in the 4.3 range, and he looks fluid and everything, he's going to go up the draft board pretty high. He's going to go up pretty high. These energy drinks get me jacked up. These things taste fantastic too. I get the Starburst strawberry. They're fantastic. Next up, I got Miami at New England. New England's a 2.5-point home favorite. Over under is 41. The 3rd-round rookie Marcus Jones, who's been playing a little bit of offense, is not going to play. He's in concussion protocol. Ramondre Stevenson's banged up. I expect him to play. There are some question marks here with both teams. So If you do put action down, be careful. But I do like New England. I think they can cover 2.5. And this puts a lot of stress on who's going to take that 7 spot in the AFC. Currently, it's Miami, but if Miami loses to New England, like I think they will, it's going to be chaotic. So maybe I was thinking of Cam Smith with smaller cornerback. He's smallest out of the top 4. Ringo being the other guy. All 4 could go top. You're right about all 4 going top 20. And I actually maybe I did. I actually thought Cam Smith was bigger than Gonzalez. So I think I got the sizes mixed up. I really want to watch these guys because I'm gonna watch like the East-West Shrine Game practices, and all the after the season bowl games, all the practices, anything I can get my hands on, I'm going to watch all those. I really want to see those, and I really want to take a look at all these corners. I think all 4 could go top 20. I agree with you. The only one I'd argue with is Ringo. I've been seeing him going in the second. But the fact that he plays at Georgia and he's going to be on prime time tomorrow, especially if he has a pick or a big play, then that's going to change things up. So it's going to be interesting. This is going to be a fun draft. I mean, this is going to be a fun draft because you have 4 quarterbacks. I think they're going to go pretty early. You have a lot of edge rushers. You have some offensive linemen. I'm not going to call this a weak wide receiver class, but you don't have like that. You got a couple of really good guys that are probably going in the first round, but you're probably going to have 3 or 4. I mean, it right now this is looking like a fun draft, and you're also going to have a lot of teams with 2 picks. A lot of teams that could be trading down, a lot of teams could be trading up. It's going to be a great draft. Trying to make sure because when I refreshed. All the teams went out of order. Want to make sure I got everything. Next up, Cleveland travels to Washington to play the Commanders. The Commanders are a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under is 41. Washington's fighting for the playoffs. Because they are fighting for the playoffs, I do think they get the win. I am anxious to see this game, though. I'm not going to watch it because it's a noon game. I'm going to be doing the Chiefs game. But I am going to pay attention to this because I kind of want to see how Cleveland plays. I kind of want to see how they look with Watson. To me, I see a team offensively that's a little out of rhythm, but this is a team that I think could be really dangerous next year. Now that this Watson stuff's gotten kind of behind them. I know they lost to the Saints in like below freezing weather. I would just throw that game out the window. I do want to see how they look against a team like Washington, who's poised to make the playoffs, or at least fighting for the playoffs. It looks like Carson Wentz is going to get started. That's also another interesting story is Heineke. Wentz. Is Washington a team that wants to get a quarterback? There's a lot of interesting storylines here. This is kind of an underrated game because Cleveland's been eliminated from the playoffs, but I'm kind of curious what happens here. And of course, if you're a Houston Texans fan, you're going to be cheering for Washington as well. Next up, Arizona at Atlanta. Atlanta's 5.5-point favorite. The over-under is 41.5. I just saw this. It's not going to be Trace McSorley. It's going to be a different quarterback, and I apologize. I am drawing a complete blank on the guy's name. It's going to be a new starting quarterback for Arizona. I think it's kind of a foregone conclusion that Kingsbury is going to be gone after a season. He had some experience in college. He has some experience in the NFL. He's a guy that could be an offensive coordinator for both college and pro. He could be a college head coach candidate. I don't know what big-time positions are available. I don't think there is any. It wouldn't surprise me he just sits out for a year and just waits till next year. I would be shocked if Arizona, did anything. J.J. Watt retiring after a season's over. I have some friends of mine who are in the group text, and they were like, "Oh, he just chased the dollars." I think he thought Arizona had a legitimate chance to go to a Super Bowl. I really think he thought that. It just didn't work out. I can't tell you, there was a stretch of like a couple of years where JJ Watt was probably the best 5 technique I've ever seen play. I mean, he was just dominant. First ballot Hall of Famer. And it also would not surprise me if he comes back into the NFL. It wouldn't surprise me he sits out for a year or two. Or it wouldn't surprise me if he sits out training camp. I'm sorry, I kind of misspoke here. He sits out training camp and then comes back and signs with the playoff team for like the league minimum. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Next up is a game where the line has just skyrocketed, and and it's San Francisco travels to Vegas to play the Raiders. The line, I believe, was at 5 or 6. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's now 9.5. For those of you who don't know, Derek Carr's been benched. They actually sent him home. The reason why is that if he does get injured, he still gets his contract. But if they cut him and it's non-injury related, the cap hit's only like $5 million. It looks like that's what's going to happen. So Keys hit me up on Twitter. He's like, what do you think about Carr being benched? And I was like, well, I think they're just going to try him out. And then I got more of the story, and it's really a shame because I've always thought that Derek Carr was a above average NFL starter, just borderline. I've said this many times. If you don't have a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, you want to try to get a top 10 quarterback. And I thought Carr was just on the cusp of being in the bottom 10. It just sucks because when he was drafted, he was in the AFC West with Peyton Manning. Now he's in the AFC East with Mahomes and Justin Herbert, and he's going to be the number 3 guy. If you want to say number 4 behind Wilson, I'd argue that, but I get that because Wilson is going to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Derek Carr probably won't be. I think that it's kind of a shame because he's a really good quarterback. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. Jared Stidham, for those of you that don't know, there was hype on him his junior year in Auburn that he was going to be a first rounder. Did not have a good senior year. Was a 4th round pick with New England, and he was going to start when Brady left. He was going to be the starter, and I think he got injured, and they brought in Cam Newton, and it was almost instantly Cam Newton got the job, which kind of bothered me. So the thing is, I just have a hard time believing this isn't more financial and just, hey, we're going to, just kind of tank for the last 2 games. I mean, they're playing San Francisco and they're playing Kansas City. I think that they just realized, hey, we can't make the playoffs unless like 50 things happen. So let's just get a good draft pick and draft a guy, and we'll just throw some guy out there. That's the way it sounds like. I would not bet on San Francisco to cover 9.5. I really wouldn't, but I do like them to win outright. I would be really surprised if they didn't. So if everybody talking about JJ, talking about why he retired, why nobody mentioned he has kids, and early this season he was in the hospital for a heart issue. I think he's thought about life after football and his family. Yeah, it's a good point, Funk. So what happened is he had a baby. And when he was in the hospital, he was feeling some chest pain. It turned out to be he had an irregular heartbeat. So they had used a defibrillator, and they shocked his heart back into place. Not a medical professional. From what I've gathered, it is life-threatening, but it's also minor. I'm talking on both sides of my mouth here. I'll never forget, though, when he was on Hard Knocks with the Houston Texans. He said he doesn't date. He doesn't do anything for the off season. It's just all football. And then when he's done with football, then, he'll start dating and do all this other stuff. And then a few years later, he hosted Saturday Night Live. He was kind of funny too. I mean, he wasn't great. But he was pretty good. I mean, he was pretty good. He wasn't like Charles Barkley hosted Saturday Night Live. I think Barkley was probably my favorite. As far as, athletes, Peyton Manning was pretty good. Eli Manning was pretty good. So then he hosted Saturday Night Live. He gets married, he has a family, and it wasn't the same guy. I remember Corey. He used to come on the show with me, and last year he sends me a DM and he goes, "You're not going to believe the disrespect on JJ Watt. It's just terrible." What was it? Shannon Sharp. You're not going to believe the way Shannon Sharp disrespected Jay. This is unbelievable. So I was like, all right, well. So I go on there and he got hurt, and Shannon said, well, this isn't the same J.J. Watt from 5 years ago when he was the dominant force in the NFL. And I was like, what's disrespectful? He's like, can't believe you wouldn't call him dominant. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, he's not the same guy he was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, he was the best. Maybe 6 years ago, he was the best defensive player in football. He's not that guy anymore. And I think that, football family. I mean, dude, JJ Watt's made $100 million. I mean, you've seen the show Broke, the ESPN 30 for 30. I'm pretty sure you have Funk. It's something like 90% of pro football and basketball players file bankruptcy 1 year after retirement. Hopefully Watt's not in that type of situation. I think Watt, if he was in that type of situation, could still play. My guess is that he's managed his money correctly. He got married. He's having a family and first ballot Hall of Famer. No, he doesn't get a ring. There's a lot of guys in Pro Football Hall of Fame that don't have rings. And like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if around October or November next year, if J.J. Watt signs, with a team. But yeah, I agree with you. Next up is a really, really good game. There's several late games that are good. By the way, I apologize. I didn't say it right away, but we're skipping ahead to the late games now. The 49ers-Raiders game was a late game. Jets at Seattle. Seattle's a 2-point home dog. The over-under is 42.5. I'm going to level with you. I don't know why the Jets are favored. I know Mike White's coming back, and I think that a banged-up Mike White, I would really rather take Seattle. I know the defense has been not playing very well lately, but Seattle at home, both teams fighting for the playoffs. I kind of like Seattle here. Really good game. Really good game. I'm kind of excited about this one, but I'm not sure what's going to be playing in the Midwest, but more than likely I'll probably be watching. Well, I'll tell you the truth, I really don't know, because I kind of got a feeling that if I'm not watching Raiders San Francisco, this is the game I think that I'm going to end up watching, just due to which area you are, and I'll have to check it out. But more than likely, the game that I'll probably be watching will be Minnesota at Green Bay. Green Bay is trying to win and in, and I'm hoping Detroit and Green Bay win. So I could see Green Bay versus Detroit for that 7 seed. That would just be fantastic. It would be great. And I think Green Bay gets done. I know that Minnesota's 11-0 in one-score games. I know their offense has been sputtering. The defense hasn't been playing that good. When I did my picks video, I had a few Vikings fans say, no way. And I don't know what to tell you, man. It kind of just seems like a Packers game to win here. I don't know if I feel 1,000% like on board with the Packers. I wouldn't bet on it, to be honest with you. To tell you the truth, if I was going to make a play on this game, I'd probably take the over. The weather's supposed to be fantastic for Green Bay in late December. I think it's supposed to be 30 or 40 outside, which is like summer weather up there. Well, it's not really summer, but you get what I'm saying. Really like this game. But I'm pulling for Green Bay and I'm pulling for Detroit. So, I mean, keep your fingers crossed. Next up, the battle for LA. The Chargers are the home team. And this is kind of fun because even though they play in the same stadium, they're in the same city, the Chargers are getting the 3-point home field advantage. I can get that split up. They're a 6.5 point favorite. The over-under is 42. This game and the Denver Broncos covering 13.5 are my two picks. When I first did the video, I believe it was 40.5. It's now 42. I love the over in this game. Baker Mayfield's added something to the Rams. I actually think the Rams win this game. The Chargers, they're in the playoffs no matter what, and they're going to get it done. I mean, they got it done. I'm sorry. This is a game I could see them just not playing as well. And the Rams with Baker Mayfield are significantly better. The Rams with Green Bay are significantly better. I said the Rams with Green Bay are okay. I'm messing up. Oh man, I messed it up. The Rams with Baker Mayfield are significantly better as well. I was trying to say. Funk says F. I'm no dog in the fight. This would be the game I would flex if I could. Green Bay versus Detroit for the 7th seed. I would flex that game. I would 100% flex the game. It's what I am pulling for. I really want this to happen. You're just killing my draft. I would not. Seriously, you're going to get a top 10 pick, which was a lot better than you thought you were getting, and you also get the pick for Hawkinson plus your 2nd round pick. So you're going to be in good shape. You're going to be in good shape. I wouldn't worry about draft positioning. I think you're going to be in really good shape, and I also think you're going to be surprised at how much jockeying there's going to be for those top spots. It would not surprise me the way things are going if quarterbacks end up going 1, 2, and 3. So, but I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, I do think the Rams win this one, and that would kill your draft stock, unfortunately. Next up, Pittsburgh at Baltimore for Sunday night. I think I could have sworn there was one more 3:00. Okay, I got all 4 of them. Thought there was one I missed. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Baltimore's a 2.5 point favorite. The over-under is 35. And I think Pittsburgh wins this one. Lamar Jackson's going to be out. Pittsburgh's fighting for a playoff spot. Baltimore won in Pittsburgh earlier. These teams have done this before where they split. This has happened before they split, which both teams winning on the road. This has happened before. These two teams fight. This is going to be a fun game. I mean, I love football, so this is going to be a blast. I starting off the new year with some really great games. This is going to be a fun one. I like Pittsburgh. Also like over 35 here. I like over 35, even though points are going to be sparse. I do like over. I would not bet on this game, even though I like Pittsburgh to win and I can get 2.5. If Pittsburgh loses, they are I don't have it pulled up, but I believe if Pittsburgh loses, they're eliminated. They can't. All the tiebreakers go against Pittsburgh the way I understand it. I could be wrong, but I believe Pittsburgh loses, they are out. And if they win, they have to win next week, and they have to have some things happen. But the way I'm predicting everything, if Pittsburgh wins Sunday night, if all my predictions come true, they win and they're in. So I mean, they're not dead. I think they get it done. Baltimore is still fighting for the North title and they play the Bengals next week. But the Bengals would have if Baltimore loses, then the Bengals would have to lose. So does that make sense? Or there's one game between the two. So. If the Rams win, the pick could drop to 11 this week, depending on other things too. They still have one of the highest strength of schedules, and that's the first tiebreaker. Still, 11's not that bad. Let's say you don't make the playoffs. Let's just say you don't. 11 and 18. I mean, you're not getting one of the elite guys, but you could probably get one of those corners. And then at 18's where things get interesting because at 18 you can do a variety of different things. Honestly, the way this draft is, let's just say you pick 11. By John Bjorn Robinson, the running back out of Texas, don't be surprised if Detroit falls in love with this kid and they take him at 11 and then take one of the corners at 18. Don't be surprised. And I say this because you may not be able to sign Williams. You keep Swift. But John Robinson's that guy that I'm just falling in love with this kid. I think so. I think there's going to be a lot of teams that want this kid. He may go higher than people think, but I think 11, where the Lions pick, that's like the perfect spot for him. Some context, Todd Gurley went 10th, and he tore his ACL his final year mid-season, so he wasn't even healthy right away. And he went 10th, and I think that NFL teams are going to look at him as that's kind of the perfect comparison is Todd Gurley, because that's who he reminds me of. That's who he reminds me of. And if you're mad at the Lions taking him at 11, you shouldn't be, because I think this kid's going to be a star, barring injury. Of course, I loved Breece Hall, and Breece Hall got injured, but anyway, he looked like he was going to be a superstar before he got injured. So. Bijan would be nice, honestly. I like the idea of Quentin Johnson to Detroit in that range. Quentin Johnson's an interesting one. Quentin Johnson isn't correct me if I'm wrong. I want to quote you as he's a defensive tackle. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm drawing a complete blank on who he plays for. Normally. Oh, he's the wide receiver out of TCU. Okay. Seriously, that's kind of where I think he's going to go, Quentin Johnson. I would be shocked if Detroit went back-to-back wide receivers or that early in the first round. I would be shocked, personally, but I'll be honest with you. Detroit did that. I would be really floored, but I love it. Yeah, I know. I took me a minute because I recognized the name. I just drew a blank. I was thinking defensive tackle, but yeah, he actually, that's the range I see him going in somewhere, 10 to 15. Actually, probably. I want to see what he does at the combine. Right now, anywhere between 7 and 15 is kind of where I have him. I know I'm giving you a big range. I love this kid. Plenty of upside. I don't see Detroit taking another wide receiver in the first round. I don't see it. You got Pro Bowler in Amon-Ra St. Brown. I know he didn't go to Pro Bowl, but he's a Pro Bowl caliber player. Got snubbed. He'll get in next year. You traded up in the first round for a guy. You got some other guys that are okay, but I really think that you get a guy in free agency, kind of that mid-tier receiver. There's going to be some interesting ones. Miracle Hardman, who's with the Chiefs, he's a guy that may be interesting. A guy like Juju Smith-Schuster, that's a guy that's going to be interesting for a lot of different teams. He would be perfect in Detroit, to be perfectly honest with you. He's a guy I think Detroit would really covet. He's a guy that I would really want to stay in Kansas City. May not be able to afford him. I don't see Detroit drafting him at all. I don't see him, but he would be in that range. But yeah, you're 100% right. 100% right, though. He would be in that range. I would be floored if Detroit went there. I would be floored, to be honest with you. But it's interesting that you think that as a Lions fan that you want to go wide receiver with your first pick in the first round. That's really, really interesting. The Lions don't have a true outside guy if Chark leaves. Honestly, that's what I kind of thought Williams was. That outside receiver is Jameson Williams all day. I mean, if you want to say he's a slot guy, I get that, but that's kind of the way I look at the Lions offense. You got your outside speed guy. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown on the inside. You got some other guys. I'll be honest. I don't see the Lions going back to back early. In the second round, if you went wide receiver, I could see that. In this draft, you have somebody like George Pickens who went in the second round. He looks like he's a steal Chase Claypool, who's now with the Bears, he's a guy that Pittsburgh is going to get a second round draft pick for. A guy like that also makes sense. And he was a former first round pick, which kind of surprised me at the time Pittsburgh drafted him, but they also traded him mainly because Pickens did so well. A guy like Sky Moore, who was second round pick, Alex Pierce, second round pick. Those are guys I could see the Lions going after. Off the top of my head, give me a receiver in the second round. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on the kid out of LSU. I think he's going to be gone at probably late first. He's a guy that if he's available early in the second, it wouldn't surprise me if the Lions actually trade up. I'm drawing a complete blank on the kid's name. The receiver out of LSU. He's a guy that may sneak into the second round. I could see the Lions doing that. I don't see the Lions taking early in the first round. If you trade down, which it wouldn't surprise me, the Lions do. Let's say you trade down into like late 20s, maybe 30, 31, 32. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe you get somebody who falls. But I would be beyond floored if the Lions decided that they were going to go wide receiver early in the first round. I would be floored. I do understand Chark leaves, but I JMO's a hybrid, not a true outside guy. I don't necessarily want Johnson. I wouldn't hate it, and it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the thing is, though, is I don't see him as an inside guy personally. I mean, he's kind of a guy that I mean, he's about 6 foot. He's like 185. I kind of picture him as the guy on the outside. That's how I see him. But he's a guy that has some potential. I mean, it's going to be interesting because you have no idea what you really have with a guy like that. I just think the Lions have a lot of holes that they need to fill. Otherwise, they're going to have a lot of free agents leave. You're only going to have one running back on your roster, and I'd have a hard time picturing them being able to re-sign Williams. I think he's going to ask for a lot of money. I think there's going to be a team that may surprise you and step up. There's also going to be a lot of wide receivers in free agency. I could see here's what I think is more likely. You attack the receiver position via free agency, and then you draft a running back. And there's going to be a couple running backs you can draft in the first or second round. But John Robinson's a guy that it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up in Detroit with your first pick. And it could let's just say, okay, let's say it's 11. He may not last 11. Let's say it's I don't have the draft chart pulled up. Let's say you guys pick 8th. It's early to take a running back. I would take him, but I think he's going to be like really special. Like I think if he's healthy, like he's gonna be a guy that could be challenging for rushing title, maybe MVP. I think he could be that good for the right team. And Detroit is the right team with that offensive line. So finally, and to give kudos to the NFL for flexing this game Monday night, because this is just an A+ job. Buffalo at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's at 1 point home dog. Over under 49.5. I actually think Cincinnati wins this one. It's pure coin flip. I would not bet on this one. I'm expecting a shootout. I really am. I think over under 49.5. It would not surprise me if this game goes way over that. On my video, I predicted, I think it was 37-35. I like Cincinnati here in a shootout. Honestly, it's a pure coin flip. Great job by the NFL saying, hey, let's put this on Monday. Let's put this on prime time and let's get it done. And what a great job. What a great job by the NFL to put this good of a game. This is easily the best game of the year. And as a Chiefs fan, I'm obviously pulling for the Bengals because I want Chiefs to get the 1 seed. So keep in mind, if the Chiefs lose, then I'm cheering for Buffalo. So the Chiefs got to have the 2 seed. So I'm talking about JMO. He did most of his work in college on drag screens, slants. Yes, he can take top off, but that's not all he is. Yeah, I can argue a little bit with that. bottom line, you really don't know what you have. That's why I didn't like the pick, is because there's a lot of question marks behind him. I want to know why he didn't play at all at Ohio State. In college football, you rotate guys in a lot. Like your third, fourth, fifth wide receivers catch balls. Like he didn't even play at Ohio State. He was there on the bench. Like they didn't even want him on the field. That to me is a red flag. Yeah, he played with a quarterback that won the Heisman Trophy. I didn't see him at the combine. I really wanted to see him at the combine. I wanted to know what his measurables were. I was wondering, is this guy 6 foot 170, runs in the 4.4 range, or is this a guy who's 6'1", 185 who runs a 4.3 something? And I wanted to see that. That's why I didn't like the pick, is that there are some question marks about this guy. And it's going to be really interesting because I want to know what the Lions are going to do this offseason, because you got a guy that you got some question marks about. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's a Pro Bowl caliber receiver. Forget the fact that he didn't make the Pro Bowl. He's a Pro Bowl player. I mean, he's a Pro Bowl guy. You have one of the best offensive lines in football. Is this the draft you want to take your quarterback? Because for years we were talking about this. This draft is when you take your quarterback. And seriously, let's say you pick 11 and 18, like I said earlier. It wouldn't surprise me if the Lions take both those draft picks, trade up, maybe to number 2, and take C.J. Stroud. It wouldn't surprise me to see the Lions do that. And honestly, I wouldn't hate that, because you got 2 picks in the second round. You also are going to have some money in free agency, and there's a lot of good wide receivers. I want Juju Smith to stay in Kansas City, but there's a chance. I mean, the way the contract is, he's probably going to be gone, but it wouldn't surprise me if Detroit opened up the bank vault and said, Juju, come here, offered him something crazy. It wouldn't surprise me. And with JMO, I mean, it's your classic boom or bust. I mean, you have a guy that, could just be injury prone, can't play in the NFL. You may also have somebody like Jalen Waddle, who every time I watch Miami, Jalen Waddle is just so impressive. I mean, there's really not. I know Tyreek Hill is kind of like the number 1 receiver. There's not too much of a difference between Waddle and Hill. There really isn't. Waddle, to me, every time I watch him, he's so good. And with Jameson Williams, are you getting somebody who's just like Jalen Waddle? So, if it wasn't for Justin Jefferson, St. Brown, this year, yes. Next year, it may be Christian Watson. Like, from what I'm seeing, Christian Watson looks amazing. He's a guy that could be really, really, really good. I don't know what the contract situation is. It wouldn't surprise me if Thielen's gone after this year, but yeah, I could see that. It wouldn't mean. I could see Juju getting a lot of money from Detroit. You get a big bodied receiver. He's been very impressive here in Kansas City. He's been a little banged up, but I mean, he's I had no idea how big he was. To me, he looks like a tight end, and his run after the catch is amazing. When I watch Detroit, they don't like throwing to their tight ends. So you want big-bodied receivers like this. And even though Amon-Ra, when he gets the ball, he's kind of like a running back. You don't have that. He doesn't have that big frame. You're talking about Quentin Johnson, that big wide receiver. It's more likely. I'll be honest. Now, this is me. I'm on the outside in. You're a Lions fan. Instead of drafting a big wide receiver, paying a wide receiver in free agency makes so much more sense. And then using that early draft pick to really to shore up your front 7, which you really need help with. That is easily your number 1 hole going into the offseason. And with the draft the way it is, I think it's much more likely that what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and draft somebody to fix that front 7, whether it's on the inside or the outside. If I could, I'd fix that. And then there's the quarterback situation. You also have to have a quarterback. Are you sold on Goff? Are you really sold on Goff? Is he that guy? Because I don't think he is. I think he's on the outside looking in. And this would be the year to get rid of him. If you are going to get rid of him, this would be the year. And you have the draft capital to do so. So I think that drafting a wide receiver would be unlikely because there's several wide receivers in free agency. I was just going through the list yesterday, and I can't think of all the names, but Juju Smith-Schuster is a guy that I love here in Kansas City. I want him to stay in Kansas City. I want him to stay in Kansas City big time, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up leaving and gets a lot of money. Detroit would be one of the top 3 teams that would want Juju. That would be my opinion. Holmes has not shown any signs that he would open up the checkbook up. He hasn't yet. He didn't have the capital last year. He does this year. That's the difference. And a guy like Juju is a guy that I think would fit perfectly in Detroit. I think it would fit perfectly in Detroit. I really, really do. It wouldn't surprise me. Actually, him and Miracle Hardman, it wouldn't surprise me either one of those guys. Now, Miracle Hardman adds additional value as a punt kick returner. So that could be another thing. I know your punt returner. I'm drawing a blank on his name. He plays wide receiver. I think his contract's up at the end of the year, so he may go in free agency. Miracle Hardman, a lot of people think could be a number 2 wide receiver in the NFL. I am not one of them. A lot of Chiefs fans kept on saying that, and I'm like, he's not. He's just not. But he's a guy that could offer some value. He's another interesting story. Out of those 2, obviously Juju to me is the guy that I've been desperate for. The Chiefs don't trade for Kadarius Toney if they really wanted to keep Miracle Hardman around. So that's just the way I look at it. And Detroit hasn't had the ability to sign people until this year. This will be the first year that you can sign people. And I think they're going to have to sign people in free agency. You guys are losing a lot of players to the open market, and you have a lot of holes to fill. One Pride, he was here Tuesday, and he was like, is Detroit a good place? And I was like, well, it's not a major media market, but I think people like Dan Campbell, and he was really pushing for Deron Payne, who's one of the top free agents in the market. That would make a lot of sense. So Raymond just got to. Okay, I'm sorry, I misspoke then. Okay, Khalif Raymond was the guy I was thinking of. So he got a 2-year deal. He's still okay. So you wouldn't be interested in Miracle Hardman. So Juju would be the guy. It wouldn't. I think it's much more likely that you guys sign Juju to a big contract this offseason, and then you use your draft picks on either a quarterback or defensive front 7. And I'll be honest, I have no idea what the Lions are thinking. Are they thinking that, hey, we don't, we're going to roll with Goff. We're just going to keep building around him, or if they're saying, hey, he's not elite, we're gonna draft a guy this year. That's going to be such a fun story, and I'm going to ask for you over the next several months to keep me informed on what you're hearing in the city of Detroit. Are they bringing in quarterbacks? Are they not bringing in quarterbacks? And we'll go from there. You know what? I apologize because I should have had this ready to roll and I didn't. But I am going to give you the 2 national championship games just for fun. Michigan's a 7.5-point favorite. The over-under is 58. I like the under in this game. I would not take a 7.5-point line, but I do think Michigan wins. I don't think TCU is one of the 4 best teams in the NFL. I'm sorry, college football. I really want to see Alabama instead. I think Alabama got really screwed. I really do. I think I would. What really should have happened is it should have been Georgia against Alabama and Ohio State, Michigan. But I do think Michigan advances to the national championship game. I like. There's going to be a couple players for TCU I'm interested in. Max Duggan, the quarterback. The wide receiver Funk was talking about. Plus, a running back could be really interesting. I'm hearing 2nd, 3rd round grade. He's got me sneaking late in the 1st round with a great combine. I mean, he'd have to have a great combine. Ohio State against Georgia. Georgia is a 6-point favorite, over under 62.5. I actually like the under on this one, and I like Georgia the cover 6. For me personally, I think Georgia's best team in the country. It would be kind of a shame, really, if they if Georgia doesn't win this game by double digits. And nothing against Ohio State, but I just think Georgia's just hands down better, and they match up pretty good against Ohio State. This is going to be a fun game to watch. You have some players that are going to come back next year for Ohio State. The wide receiver had a big game in last year's bowl game. I think it was like over 300 yards against UCLA. They were talking about him going in the top 10. His draft stock's been hurting. I think he's going to play and be healthy. It'll be interesting to see what he does. So I think it's going to be Georgia versus Michigan next week for everything. And I'm going to keep this show pretty short. I'm going to keep this show pretty short. I want everybody to have a really good new year. All my social media links are listed below. Please follow me on social media if you haven't already. If you do DM me tonight, I will answer it. I'll be up for a while. Tomorrow, I got a lot of college football on the DVR. If you ask me any questions, I will get back to you. It will be late, really late. So if you have any college football questions, I'm not really an expert, but I have a ton of it on DVR. I'm going to watch a ton of college football tomorrow. So if you have a college football question, ask me tonight. And if you have an NFL question and you ask it tomorrow, I will get back to you. It'll just be very, very, very late. So the Lions have 27 million in space right now. Only 36 guys on the roster in a draft that looks like to be around 16 million or so. So yes, they can clear some space, but that's just more to replace. So that's why I think you're going to be active in free agency. That's why you're going to be active. When I say you're going to break the bank for Juju, you may be able to get him like a prorated signing. You can toy around with signing bonuses. You could toy around with like. Okay, so for example, oh crap, I can't forget Christian Kirk. All right, he signed a 4-year, $80-something million deal with Jacksonville, and that actually looks like it's paying off. I thought that was a terrible contract, but actually it looks like it's a pretty good deal. You could have something similar, like a 3-year, $65 million contract with Juju, where it's like, a signing bonus and everything is like prorated. So it's like you'd only get like 10 million for year 1. And then, year 3 could be, a big cap hit. Keep in mind, if you draft a quarterback, you're going to save a lot of money, but, you're going to have to bring in some guys. I expect the Lions to get very creative, and that's something that's always been a John Dorsey specialty, is getting creative. And this is also a reason why I also see the Lions as a strong candidate to trade back into the draft, get a lot of young players. And even if you don't hit on them, like this year, you hit on a lot of your draft picks. It's uncommon for you to do that. So it wouldn't surprise me if you try to draft like 11 or 12 players in this draft, thinking that, hey, only 6 or 7 may make the team, which is normal. Which is actually normal. When I say make the team, I'm not talking year 1, but like year 2 or year 3, you may lose several of the starters. So people always forget to look at how many players that are on the roster that actually don't play next year too when they talk about cap space. Yeah. And that's another thing. Let's say you move on from golf, but you have to eat some of that, which I don't know if you would do that. I kind of think that you keep golf next year, but you draft a guy and then you plan on moving on from golf in which would be the 2024 season, which is kind of what I really think that you're going to do. But one thing I will say about Dorsey is that he was a master in working free agency. He was a master in that, because the Chiefs roster was completely transformed between 2012 and 2013, and Chiefs went from a 2-win team to an 11-win team. And I really thought he was going to do the same thing with Detroit. I know he's the assistant GM, not the GM, but I was really expecting them to do that. It may be that they do that this year, but you got 4 draft picks in the first 2 rounds. I expect you guys to get a little creative. But it's going to be a great offseason for the Detroit Lions. It's going to be a great offseason. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great draft for you guys. I can't wait till the season's over and we talk about everything, after our Chiefs win the Super Bowl, which will be really awesome. That's kind of what I'm pulling for. All right, guys, listen. Please give me a thumbs up. Looks like I saw regulars in here, but if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. I was very lucky to get over 900 subscribers this week. It was a goal of mine. It was kind of a nice way to start the new year, having 900 almost to 1,000, which is just fantastic. I can't thank you guys enough for subscribing to my channel and talking football with me. It's my favorite thing in the world, and I love doing it. So I consider myself very lucky and very blessed to sit here and talk football with you guys. I want all of you guys to have a happy new year. Like Luke G says, I want to hear from you, not about you. So have a very happy, very safe new year. Again, if you have any NFL questions, ask tonight. But I will get back to you. I'm not doing anything for New Year's except watching a buttload of college football. That's all I'm doing. I'm not going out. I'm not doing anything. I'm just watching college football. And then I don't have the stream set up, but I will be doing play-by-play for the Broncos Chiefs. So if you guys, I know Funk, you joined last time. If you want to come in and listen to me do the play-by-play would be really awesome. I'd really appreciate it. I'll have the stream set up either later tonight or early tomorrow. So guys, have a great new year. And oh man, I will. Funk, you do the same. And I'll see you guys back. I'll see you guys next year.